Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Open Up the Workforce, where we speak with leaders driving the future of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the future workplace all together. Today, we have an incredible guest here, somebody I personally greatly admire. We have Claudio Vespucci, Vice President of Human Resources and Global Head of Talent Acquisition at Rockwell Automation. Claudio brings together over 25 years of incredible leadership and expertise in HR from large organizations that you may have heard of, like HP, SAP, Samsung, and now at Rockwell. Claudio had the opportunity to lead so many different aspects of HR. So, Claudio, we'd love to hear a little bit more about your career story. Can you share with our listeners today?
Yes, thank you, Ahva. Thanks for the really warm introduction, and appreciate being here today. It's just very much a pleasure for me to have this conversation with you today. So yeah, I started my HR career at HP a long time ago, back when HP was not split between HP Inc. and HP Enterprise. It was prior even to the Compaq acquisition. And so I wanted to always be an HR business partner because I had a passion for business and I had a passion for HR, right? And so what I wanted to do at HP was really learn about the different disciplines of HR. And so I spent a lot of time sitting in the different chairs and just learning about diversity, learning about talent development, learning about employee communications, learning about mobility, and so on, right? And after about 9 years of doing sort of a world tour of HR within HP, I moved on to SAP. And that was my first opportunity to engage in an HR business partner role. And so over the next 12 years at SAP, I built new businesses. I helped transform different businesses. I supported functional areas. I support business units. And then for the last 4 years of my time at SAP, I was the sort of CHRO of the Success Factors organization. And that was a really interesting role because it really provided a combination of HR and business kind of together, right? Success Factors is an HR product, and our main buying center was the CHRO. And so I had an opportunity to provide input to the business on how to engage the CHRO, right? How to excite a CHRO when it comes to a software conversation, right? Which was very different than how you would do that in a conversation with a CIO. And I had the opportunity to kind of have my hands in all aspects of the business, from the product roadmap to sales enablement, to actually visiting customers and spending time with customers and talking about how we benefited from the implementation of the product internally and what benefits they should expect as a result within their organization. And then after that, I spent some time at Samsung and then at TriNet. And then I came to Rockwell about 3 years ago. And when I joined Rockwell, I was asked to take on responsibility for the software and control organization as an HR business partner, given my experience in software. And then later on, I was asked to lead the talent acquisition organization, which I had led in prior experiences in the past, but not at this scale. And that was a really interesting new challenge for me, and one that I'm proud to say I passed very successfully, as I have a fantastic talent acquisition organization today. And then my role expanded with the departure of another HR leader. I now have taken responsibility for supporting the entire go-to-market organization, which includes sales and marketing and services, software, and some of the corporate functions on top of the talent acquisition organization that I run. So it's been a fantastic experience, but I think really the base of it was just kind of taking it one step at a time, right? Really learning kind of the various functions, the various disciplines, so that I could figure out how I could engage my HR partners in the process. So when to ask the questions, when to engage the expertise of the COEs, and when I could manage things on my own and I had the answer, but never feeling too confident about the answers, but always making sure that I had the backup and support of the experts to help me come to the right solution. So that was kind of the story of my career over the last, say, 25 years or so.
That's incredible. And it's interesting because when I look at your LinkedIn, it says HR throughout all this. But when I hear you speak, I hear every single discipline shine through. From, you say, customer engagement from, you're talking go to market, which is marketing and sales and building out teams in so many different ways. I think it's really just so exciting to hear about all the things that you've been able to lead and develop and design. And I'd love to double down a little bit. You had mentioned scaling, and that was a new challenge at Rockwell. Maybe can you unpack that a little bit for us? What maybe have you learned from that process?
Yeah, I mean, I had to sort of rebuild the talent acquisition organization. Leadership had left recently, and things were in a little bit of a state of disarray, and it was sort of a perfect storm. It was a time when the market sort of exploded. We started implementing Workday as a new product. Things changed in the organization. So it was a series of different things that really took its toll and impact on the talent acquisition team. And so I spent the time trying to calm people down, right? Trying to kind of break it down into different pieces and help them understand the value proposition, help them understand how one step at a time we were going to rebuild and do something different and something better than we had before. And so I really spent a lot of time listening to them, acknowledging their pain, acknowledging that they were going through a very difficult time, but at the same time, kind of showing them the way out of that, showing them how we could see a different future ahead of us. And so without forgetting the fact that, yes, they were going through a significant change and acknowledging all of that, I helped them kind of guide them through, okay, this is the baseline we're going from. This is where we're headed, and really spending a lot of time with them with a lot of TLC, a lot of tender love and care, right? I kept paying a lot of attention to them through whether it was coffee chats, skip level meetings, one-on-one time to really build the confidence, to really build the motivation. And eventually we kept growing and growing as a team. And we went from a time when every day we were announcing somebody leaving the organization to a time where every day we were announcing somebody joining the organization. That was a really great feeling.
That's a beautiful transition. And I think it's so important that you talked about there's a baseline and there's a stage one that's listening. And Claudio, when we first spoke, I remember distinctly you gave me this really powerful analogy that still sticks with me about how HR has to listen like a doctor before you diagnose. And so
Yes.
I'd love to hear a little bit about how you really tie your departments and your efforts to the business needs and just Rockwell's customer experience overall.
Yeah. So what I base every decision on is this philosophy that anything that we do in HR needs to answer the question, how will this help the company acquire and or delight customers, right? And I get that sometimes that answer is a couple of steps removed, right? You got to go through a couple of different stops to get there. But ultimately, that's the guiding light. That's really what helps us make every decision in terms of what we're going to be doing, what we're going to prioritize, how we're going to do our work. It's all about attracting and retaining and delighting customers. So I have an obsession with this concept of customer experience, right? And I want to make sure that we model HR after the employee experience, after the best experiences that people have in the consumer world, right? And I always think of a situation where it was a Sunday morning and I'm Italian and I like my espresso, and I ran out of espresso. And so I went onto Amazon and I ordered espresso on that Sunday morning thinking, okay, it's not going to get here until, who knows, 2 or 3 days from now. And it showed up that afternoon, right? And my reaction to that experience was, wow, that is an incredible customer experience. And so I tell that story to all the people on my team, and I say, this is the type of reaction that I want our stakeholders to have about HR, right? I want them to be wowed by the work that we're doing, and I want it to be relevant. I want it to always be following the purpose of acquiring and or delighting customers. And that's how we make everything that we do relevant to the business.
Wow. I have to say that is so relevant to me because actually this morning we were out of our espresso pot, and I ran over, and it won't be here for 2 days, but if it gets here, I mean, it's the holidays, so I don't think it's going to get here in a day, but if it were to get here in a day, that would be absolutely phenomenal. And it ultimately is the people, right, that we build our team with that will make deploying and make winning and make these opportunities possible, right? We think about sports teams and we think about having the right players on the team, however, how you recruit them, how you bring them on, ultimately will yield the results on or win the championship and what's going to be the output. Exactly. So important.
And I always say you get what you pay for. So you want to make sure you buy the best players because those players are going to get you the best results, right? So never be cheap on buying the best players. You want to make sure you have the best players so that you can win. So
absolutely. And on top of that, I've also noticed that your team also does invest in building great players, right? It's not always just buying. You can also build and invest. You have an early career strategy. How does that fit into all the great work that you're doing?
Yeah, look, I mean, my take on that is my success is dependent on the success of my team. The success of the company is dependent on the success of everyone, right? We get our annual bonus, which this year paid well above target as a result of the work that everyone does on the team. And so I say to the people on my team, I'm obsessed with your success, not just for personal reasons, because I care about you, but I'm obsessed with your success because your success means my success. And unless you're successful, I can't be either. So it's in my best interest to make sure that you are successful so that I can achieve my own success and the company can achieve success. And ultimately, we can make the world a better place as a result of it, right? So for me, that's really important. So when it comes to early career, when it comes to any development program, it's all about making sure that we are building the capability within the organization that allows us to be successful, because that benefits all of us. That doesn't just benefit people coming in from colleges and universities or people coming in at a later time in their career. It benefits everybody when, again, you have great players on your team wins. And if you're the captain of the team, you're proud because the team is winning. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure that everybody plays their best so that you can also win along with the team, right?
Yes. And you said something important that stood out to me is like the incentives and how that lines up. And that is also part of HR, right? How we build the compensation, how we really reward great behavior and make sure that the team is all involved. So I appreciate that so much. And I also noticed that you have teamed up with Manpower Group and you've developed the Academy of Advanced Manufacturing. And we see that there's such a need to support the development of manufacturing and address the skills gap. And we saw that a lot of U.S. military veterans are also participating. I'd love to learn how you have developed that initiative and how it's sustaining as well.
Yeah, I know. And it's a really great initiative that we're extremely proud of. We built this program about 5 years ago or so. I think it was 2018, if I'm not wrong. And it's really a program designed for our customers. We built it for our customers. So we partner with Manpower. Manpower does the recruiting, the sourcing, and the screening of veterans who have worked in the military in technical functions, right? So we're looking at for people that have some sort of technical aptitude and expertise. And so they do the initial sourcing and the screening. Then they pass on the candidates to us. We do the final kind of screening to make sure that they are a fit for the program. And then once they're accepted in the program, they go through a 12-week program where we essentially train them on our machines, our systems, all of our production environment. And we pay their room and board. They come from all over the U.S. We bring them to Milwaukee. We pay their room and board. We pay them, a salary or, wages for their time. And then when they graduate from the program, we match them with our customers. So we talk to our customers and say, hey, I've got, so many people here that could be a good fit for positions within your organizations. These are people that are trained on our machines or trained on our systems and can come in right away without the need for additional training and be productive from the very beginning. And so we have placed about 95% of those graduates into our customers as full-time employees. And so far in the last 5 years or so, we graduated about 500 people or so, and we just continue to do that every year. And we continue to recruit veterans with those technical skills that eventually find employment at our customers. And it's a win for everybody, right? It's a win in the sense that we train people and initiate them into a new career. We help our customers. We feel good about it. Our customers buy more from us in return. We're more successful. there's just no downside to the whole program. So it's a really fantastic initiative that we put in place and we continue to launch every year. So
I find it so fascinating for a number of reasons. My background is in economics, and I feel like just as a model, it's really fascinating because I don't really see other organizations doing anything like this, right? Like if a team of like a chips manufacturing, they were building these engineers are keeping them in-house. They're not placing them externally, but I think that it's so profound. And I think it's such a smart model that others should kind of be open to considering longer term. Because I think it's just, makes so much sense. But I haven't seen very much of it.
Ultimately, it makes good financial sense, even though that wasn't the base under which the foundation under which the program started, right? But it turns out to be a program that does something good for the community and at the same time gives us a financial return. So how can you go wrong?
Yes. And Rockwell does so many incredible things to support just humanity in general. And when we were speaking, I was just amazed by the breadth of examples that you were sharing. But I know when someone maybe comes to the website and they see Rockwell Automation or they see maybe the term industrial automation, it might be hard to unpack that and to like really get into like the why and the greater vision and story. How do you do that in your role? Because I think it's important as we think about marketing, opportunity, and getting people motivated and staying at the organization.
Yeah, no. I mean, the word automation maybe can catch some interest, but the word industrial, it's sometimes, especially among the younger generation, is less appealing, right? So yeah, we focus a lot on explaining purpose, the overall value proposition. One of the things that I always kind of jokingly say is when you're talking to candidates, you got to engage people in sort of three different dimensions. You got to engage the head. It's got to make logical sense for people to join your company because they're going to be working on technologies or they're going to be working on programs that will help them advance their career. You gotta engage the heart. You gotta create that emotional connection. And then obviously you gotta engage the wallet. It's gotta make sense financially. People have to make a living, right? But kind of focusing more on the heart, we try to establish an emotional connection with people by helping our candidates and our current employees understand how the work that they do not only helps make the company profitable and successful, also helps makes our customers profitable and successful. And at the end of the day, helps make the world a better place. So last time we spoke, we talked about a few examples. Our technology helped scale the production, the bottling of the vaccines, of the COVID vaccine during the pandemic, right? And those vaccines, as a result of the automation that we have in place, got to patients faster than it would have otherwise and saved lives as a result of that. We took the employees to a virtual tour last year of a company that assembles meals for malnourished children around the world. And our technology allows the company to remove the human contact with the food. So it removes any sort of contamination associated with the human contact. And that allows them to package those meals much faster and again, without contamination. And those meals get shipped to those children who would not have anything to eat otherwise. And it saves the lives of those children. And when we were talking about this, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. I mean, people got really emotionally connected to that and thought, wow, the work that I'm doing, I get that it helps the company be successful and everything else, but I didn't realize that actually saved the lives of children. And how can you not get your heart around that, right? That is an incredible opportunity. We're working with a company that is looking at replicating human tissue, which could potentially be the solution to diseases such as pancreatic cancer, for instance, right? And our technology would allow to produce human tissue at scale, right? So it would allow, if the technology proves to be achieving the results that it expects to achieve, our product would allow that to be produced at scale and save more lives as a result. And as I talk to people, I always say, look, if I can say I had something to do with ending pancreatic cancer or any other type of cancer, I think I'm done. My life is complete. I have made a contribution to the world that's beyond what I ever expected, right? And so I really try to talk to people about a lot of the things that we do to make sure that they understand how the work that they do doesn't just help the company be successful, but it really helps make the world a better place as a result of that. And I know there are other companies that can say that, but I think it's a really special thing when you can attach the work that you do to such an incredibly noble cause, right? And so for me, that's something that helps people really stay connected from an emotional perspective to the company. And again, when it comes to engaging the head, the heart, and the wallet, that part tends to really win the heart over. So
that's so inspiring for so many reasons. My family is all in medicine, and I've really seen so much. My dad is a cancer doctor, actually, and so he has worked so closely with patients, and I've seen a lot of exciting innovation and development happen. And it's so great to see the work that you can do at scale, right? Because doctors can only have so many hands, but the research and the design behind these initiatives can have really robust impact at scale. And sometimes we just need someone to paint the picture for us, because it might be that something is being developed in this stream of the design and development process, but you don't know the actual output. So it's really important to come back to the why. I think that's why we get up in the mornings. And when you say the head, the heart, and the wallet, I kind of think of like just why we make decisions on like ethos, pathos, logos. It's like really ties into so many of those like frameworks. And I think it's important as an HR leader because you're speaking to so many different parts of the business always and trying to kind of create alignment, making sure everyone is on the same page. And when I think of the work you do, I oftentimes think of engineering and automation requiring very specialized skill sets that are very high in demand, but low in supply. Mm-hmm. How has maybe the supply and skills development been on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a tough battle out there, right? The war for talent has often been described is always on. There's always a scarcity for people that have unique skill sets. If you think about sort of the new buzzword right now, you hear a lot about AI, artificial intelligence, and how every company is jumping on the bandwagon with AI, which can do a lot of amazing things. But obviously, it's a new thing and it's a scarce skill. And so there's the war for talent is out there. They're trying to find people that have this unique expertise and this unique skill set. And so for us, it's always a challenge to try to find candidates that have the right skill set and expertise, because a lot of times it's also a combination of domain expertise, of industry expertise, of technical expertise, and then you got to have the soft skills along with it, right? So it's almost like you got to be at the intersection of 4 or 5 different dimensions to be the perfect fit, and that's always difficult to find. And so we spend a lot of time as an organization reaching out and trying to talk to as many people as we can to find sometimes that needle in the haystack, which is not an easy challenge to overcome.
Yeah, so HR is far from easy, right? I think it's so many different factors. And one thing that I think is really challenging, and I don't know the answer to it yet, but I always ask is how you balance some of the more urgent reactive needs that you must take care of in HR with the longer term strategic efforts, thinking of like career pathing and succession planning. How do you think about your efforts in those two worlds?
Yeah, I remember a number of years ago when I was at SAP, and we were always having this debate of should HR be strategic or should HR be tactical? And my answer to that was always, it's got to be both. You've got to be able to get the basics right to earn a seat at the strategic table, right? And so you kind of really have to do both, and you have to play on both sides. You have to make sure that you're taking care of all the basic needs, but at the same time with an eye towards the future, with an eye towards how things will need to shape out in the future. And so actually, you get a lot of inspiration out of the basic things that you do, because you start to see what's recurring, you start to see what's common thread, and you start to see where the gaps are. And that helps you shape your vision for the future. And so you kind of have to, work on both sides and get both done at the same time. It's a difficult balance sometimes, but also I think it's something that, all of us in HR have to do if we want to be successful, right? You can't choose one or the other. You got to be tactical and you got to be strategic at the same time. You're not going to win by doing one or the other.
Yes. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking of just even my role as a startup founder and how I have to balance that business needs to do these things, right? We have to do these things to stay alive, but we also do need to spend time staying a few steps ahead, building out the strategic roadmap. And so I think it's important just really across all business, right? These are things you must do, but also we have to have the bigger term vision in mind. And whenever the biggest advice we always got when we were building Symba, they said, don't run to building process. Don't run to just making everything scalable right away. Actually do things in a very scrappy way, very manually, so you actually learn what needs to be done. And so that's what I, hear very clearly from you, and it validates kind of how we have operated before getting to like the next level and scaling very quickly.
Yeah, I call it the Sunday syndrome, right? When you're spending your Sunday trying to figure out what you're going to do that day, and by the time you've put all these thoughts into it, the day's over and you haven't done anything, right? And so I always say, get on the road, just get going, get in the car, get on the bike, whatever it is that you like to do, and just get going, and then find your way along the way, right? Don't spend you have an initial idea, but don't spend too much time planning everything out, because things will never go as planned. That's the other thing you always have to realize, right? Things never go as planned. Something always goes in a different direction. And so you got to be prepared and agile. You got to be able to shift directions if you need to. So get going and figure out your way as you're moving, right? But absolutely still, and thinking things over too much, it sometimes makes you go through the day without having anything done at the end of the day. And that doesn't give you any progress whatsoever, right? So
yes, you have to keep moving. And the MVP, the development, that's how you learn, right? You put something out and you test, you iterate quickly. Yeah. So I believe in that so much.
Yeah.
That's how innovation happens.
Yeah. I say to my team all the time, it's like, I'd rather you try 10 different things and take 10 shots and get one in than take 0 shots and get none in. It doesn't matter if you make 9 mistakes. You're still 1 point ahead because you've gotten one in. And so always do things, fail, that's fine, learn from the mistakes and keep going. But you got to keep going. That momentum's got to be ongoing. Otherwise, if you're stuck and you start to analyze things too much, you get into that analysis paralysis that doesn't allow you to move anywhere. So fine if you miss 9 times, but you scored once. That's okay. Better than you scored 0.
Yeah.
I don't care how many mistakes you make. I care about how many results what results you achieve. And achieving something is better than achieving nothing, even if you made more mistakes in the process.
Absolutely. And you learn from those, as you mentioned. And it's so important. One question that we like to ask all of our speakers before we wrap up is around our mission. As Symba began as a social impact project with late Congressman John Lewis, and our mission, which is open up the workforce, means a future of work that supports equitable access to jobs and wealth creation. We'd love to get your perspective, Claudio, what you believe are the next steps leaders need to take in order to truly open up the workforce.
Yeah, look, I think you have to, if you want to be successful in business, you have to leverage the broader brain power of the community, right? You can't just focus on one specific group, one specific area. And so you've got to bring talent from across so many different places, so many different, from a lot of differences. And as a result of that, that's how you gain that level of creativity that eventually inspires innovation. And in a competitive market, it's innovation that allows you to be profitable, right? It's not the company that's doing the exact same thing as everybody else. It's the company that does something different, something new, something exciting. I mean, look at how Amazon took off. Look at how Facebook took off. Look at how other companies along those lines became popular. They created something no one else had thought about. And so you've got to continue to have that creativity in the organization. And the only way you achieve creativity is by bringing people who are of different backgrounds and bring different ideas. And so you've got to be intentional about going to find those people. So you got to, as we say in the recruiting world, you got to fish in multiple ponds.
Absolutely.
If you're only fishing one pond, you're probably going to find only one kind of fish. And instead, you got to go to multiple ponds and fish in multiple ponds to get that diversity of talent that you need to be successful, right? So you've got to, number one, create an inclusive environment. I think that's kind of your baseline, right? Because if you're bringing in talent that thinks differently, but you're not appreciating those differences, then it kind of defeats the purpose. So you got to create that, inclusive environment. But then you have to really be intentional about going to find the diverse talent. Like, we have metrics, we have initiatives, we have all sorts of, programs that we put in place to make sure that we are looking at the broader talent pool. We're not just looking at people in a specific area with a specific mindset, but we look across so many different ponds to try to bring talent. And that's what you have to do as a company to be successful. And of course, if you do that, then you open up the possibility for diverse talent to come into the organization and to be accepted into the organization. So it's a two-way street. You open the door, you go search for them, they will come to you as a result, right? And so that's how I think we are able to create more opportunities for different people across the world. And that's how we can be successful as a result of the broader brain power that all these differences together bring to our organization. That's critical to the success of any company, in my opinion.
Couldn't agree more. Even at Symba, we call it this two-way street notion, a symbiotic relationship, really. It is all about that. And I appreciate your discussion about opening up and going into different ecosystems, different pools, ensuring that there's opportunity. Yep. Claudio, always such an amazing pleasure connecting with you. Every single time I learn so much. You are truly a leader in this space. You've done so many aspects. And every time I speak, I'm like, I don't know how you still do all of these aspects of it because you're running so much. But is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up?
Come and join us at Rockwell. We have plenty of openings still, and it really is a great place to work. I've been at the company for 3 years, and it's been an amazing experience. I think our culture is a true differentiating factor, and so happy to entertain any new ideas and new opportunities that can come your way.
Wonderful. And thank you for the work that your company is doing to really improve many of our lives. We appreciate it. And great to have you on, Claudio.
Thanks.